Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome to the first November video of the channel. I am your host, Mr. Sean. I do hope you enjoyed that little list at the beginning, now that features all of my supporters in a nice list, showing everyone my thanks for who is supporting this channel, regardless of tier. But today we have a very special video for everybody, and that is the Neckbeard Iceberg. Now, while I have never done an iceberg video before, you should know what they are. That's where we start with a topic. At the top of the iceberg is the most notable, the most commonly known things about a topic, and as you dive deeper, then, they become more obscure that the average user may not know about. This list comes from r/justneckbeardthings, and today I'm going to go through it with you, and between each tier, I am going to advertise one of my own products. So, thank you for joining me today. Let's get right to it. This might be a long one. Our first tier at the top of the iceberg, our first entry, is Fedora. Now, a fedora, you know it, you love it. It is the wide-brimmed hat that, while popular in the 40s and 50s, as well as just in general they're associated with mobsters from the golden age of American organized crime, neckbeards think it makes them look classy. Don't be, the thing you sometimes think of as a fedora is in fact not a fedora, but a trilby. The much smaller version is typically what neckbeards what they go for in terms of headwear, which is unfortunate as some of them with the rather large heads, the tiny trilby makes their head look even bigger. Moving on, we have fingerless gloves. Again, this is a common neckbeard fashion accessory that they seem to think gives them an air of sophistication. Personally, I too like fingerless gloves, but only because if I try to use my touchscreen, even with gloves that allow you to do so, I end up fat fingering everything. So unfortunately, the tips of my fingers being a little cold is the price I pay for being able to use my phone outdoors during these winter months. Next, we have anime accessories. Yes, neckbeards do love anime, but loving anime doesn't necessarily make you a neckbeard, but they do tend to accessorize to the extreme. We're talking, probably keychains. They might display anime figures on their dashboard, but when you're out in public, or when they're out in public, they probably have something somewhere, whether it be a keychain, a backpack, a dashboard accessory that is anime, and most likely a big boobed waifu. Going off of that, the next one is anime t-shirts. Yes, they do love t-shirts that show off how cultured they are in their entertainment choice. So typically they will wear anime t-shirts, though again, typically it is of some anime girl with big honkin' gazongos. After that, we have the infamous ahegao hoodie. Now, ahegao is essentially a term used in anime for essentially a sex orgasm face, and it's used a lot in anime, specifically adult anime, if you get what I'm saying. But while most people, if they're viewing these kinds of things, it's in private. Neckbeards love to just slap them right across a hoodie and walk outside, letting everyone know that they gooned a cartoon. Really, we got a big theme here on the top of this iceberg. They're known for wearing their controversial clothing, and while the stuff we've mentioned before may be to some level controversial, these ones are clothing that express their unorthodox ideology, if you get my drift, about how they feel about women, or how they feel about society, or about how they think of themselves. There's some kind of controversial phrase, possibly even hate speech, that they like to wear, again, in full-on public. Keeping up this, the first tier is pretty much just almost all clothing, but we have trench coats. Again, accompanied with the fedora. They think this makes them look like a classy man out of, the 1940s or 50s. While trench coats are by themselves not beardy, the fact that they wear them when it is not necessarily appropriate to wear a trench coat, when the weather is not permitting, and of course they love wearing the big black ones that are of course very, very hot. So wearing a trench coat and a fedora out in public all the time, regardless of weather, is classic baseline top of the iceberg neckbeard. And our final entry on the top tier is in fact patchy unkempt beards. I mean, there's a reason we call them neckbeards, right? Just having a neckbeard doesn't make you a neckbeard, but also not having a neckbeard doesn't make you not a neckbeard. It's the beard on the inside that counts, but this was started for a reason, and it's because a lot of individuals that fall into this iceberg are known to have unkempt, scraggly pube beards. And that's the end of Tier 1, everybody. So first, I'd like to turn your attention to the first item of mine that I am advertising today, this cute Baphomet unisex t-shirt. Here we have the Lord of Darkness, the mascot of the Church of Satan himself, Baphomet. Or I'm sorry, the mascot of the Satanic Temple himself. They are different. Baphomet, with this fun retro style image of the Lord of Darkness, with the fun rainbow saying of, "I'm just a lil guy." Now, one of my friends who I play D&D with did buy this shirt for himself. He did recommend that you go one size up from your normal sizing, but it is also, he wore it to our most recent D&D thing. It is a super comfy, super well printed shirt. I highly recommend this one. Apparently he was wearing it at the store on his way and was getting lots of cool shirt compliments. So I highly recommend you take a look at purchasing the cute Baphomet unisex t-shirt from my Fourth Wall store. Link will be in the description. Alright guys, now it's time to go into that second tier of this iceberg. And just so you know, there is we're on tier 2 out of 8 total. So we're making really good time. But number 1 on tier 2, oral hygiene. Yes, neckbeards are not known for taking care of the inside of their mouths, whether that be their breath or their teeth. Neckbeards are known to kind of, in many ways, have an odor, and some of those odors come from their mouths. Whether this is due to laziness or an actual belief that it is unnecessary, who knows? Next up, we have fear of showers. Now, one thing that neckbeards, they don't like to wash. They really don't. Whether that is just, again, due to laziness, or some of them literally believe that that taking a shower gets rid of their natural musk, which is what they believe will attract the ladies to them. So they don't shower, and they smell really bad. I have a saying I use in real life, which is, you can walk in and smell the Magic the Gathering tournament, because that has happened. Which moves us into our number 3, Axe body spray. Because they don't like taking actual showers, they make the compromise of instead spraying very strong body sprays. And again, I feel like this goes back to the original Axe body spray commercials that made it seem to the teenage boys they were marketing towards that spraying this all over your body would make women be unable to resist having sex with you. And of course, we know that the opposite is true, and that if you spray on a ton of Axe body spray, you aren't getting anywhere near the punani. Now, this complete lack of basic hygiene leads us to our next entry, fungal infection. And yes, unfortunately, due to their sedentary lifestyle, their lack of proper hygiene habits, and just the way they live their lives in general, parts of neckbeard's body are prone to fungal infection, whether that's skin or perhaps their toes, their nails, whatever. Just absolutely disgusting. I don't want to talk more about it. Again, another disgusting one here on tier 2, improper wiping. Now, yes, a lot of neckbeards smell like duty, and that's because their butts are full of it. You know, they don't wipe properly, whether it's because they are simply too massive in size to do so, or they just don't care. But if you think that a neckbeard smells like crap, it's probably because there's crap. Now, I'm not entirely sure what is meant by this next one, fingertips. Now, yes, we've talked about how they love their fingerless gloves, but also I wonder if this maybe was supposed to be fingerprints, because it's known that neckbeards love their Cheetos. They're kind of greasy, they don't wash, so they tend to get their greasy mitts and prints on everything. But I don't know if that's what this means or if it means something else. If you know, if I'm wrong and you know what it means, please mention that in the comments. Next up, we have nicotine stains. Yes, they do love their nicotine, whether that is cigarettes, whether that is chew. A lot of times their teeth, their hands, what have you, they will, even their clothing will be nicotine stained, which again, I know vaping's a thing now, but again, actual nicotine products that leave nicotine stains, that leave all this, just gross. But they do it for 2 reasons. 1, because again, they're addicted, it's nicotine. And 2, because they think it makes them look cool, because they just have in their heads what is cool without looking. They want things that they think Like they're like, this is what will make me cool to other people without considering other people's preferences or likes at all in the process. And guys, just kind of ending this one on the hygiene aspect. Tier 1 was clothing. Tier 2 seems to be hygiene. We have deodorant substitution beliefs. Again, neckbeards are terrified of losing their natural musk. And so they try everything they can beyond actually showering and using deodorant, whether that is, it's okay. I just have to not shower for like 3 weeks and my body will adjust and not smell anymore. Or, again, the Axe body spray, which I guess is technically deodorant. Well, that is a deodorant, I guess. So Axe body spray would be something completely different. But again, they'll use any manner of methods that they've heard of. It's like, if you just throw some baby powder under your pits or whatever. They have a million of them, and it's all just to try and get away from using deodorant so that women can still smell their natural musk and then be attracted to them and want to have their neck babies. And that is the end of Tier 2, everybody. Now, let's take a look at one of my custom miniatures. This is a custom Kit Bash HeroClix miniature of Sunfire from the little-known X-Men character, Sister of Sunfire. It is placed on a Sunfire HeroClix dial, and she is shown featuring her traditional fire powers, as well as her skills with the katana. For all you people who might be beard-adjacent without being actual beards, this is a kit-bashed and hand-repainted figure made by myself and is available over on eBay. Link will be in the description. And with that, guys, it is time for Tier 3. Starting off, we have MLP, which of course stands for My Little Pony. Now, neckbeards love this show about ponies living and being friends that was in fact meant for small girls. And when I say they love it, I mean they love it. And it's not about the terms of friendship and all that. It's because they want to have sex with these ponies. Bronies they're not all degenerate, but they are weird to me. And again, a little bit too many of people in this community are sexually attracted to these cartoon ponies. Next on the list, we have Ben Shapiro. Now, Benjamin Aaron Shapiro is an American conservative political commentator, media host, and attorney. Basically, this is a guy that neckbeards idolize because he comes out, on TV and he states a lot of antiquated views about equal rights, about the role of a woman in the household. And again, he is one who preaches the idea that women should be subservient to men and that men should be the essentially head of the household. And that really speaks to neckbeards who really like this idea of thinking of themselves as an alpha male and wanting a nice subservient waifu woman. But the one thing I always think is funny in their idolization of Shapiro is that he does, for all of his ideas that I do not agree with, he does state that if this is the dynamic, that the man should be the provider. And a lot of these neckbeards do not have the ability to provide for a woman in a single income household, let alone a woman and all the children that they want these women to have. So they love what he preaches. I just don't think if they were to actually try and live what he's saying, they'd be good at it. Next up, we have Jordan Peterson. I had to actually look this guy up. I was not familiar with him, but he is a Canadian psychologist who is very anti-political correctness and ultimately states that there is a crisis of masculinity brought on by political correctness. And as such, a lot of neckbeards identify with his speech because they don't want to be politically correct. They want to feel masculine in a way that is considered negative by today's standards, where masculinity doesn't automatically put you in charge. So they idolize this man who they feel is advocating for them. Next up, we have anime. Yes, again, liking anime doesn't make you a neckbeard, but almost all neckbeards like anime. It's kind of what they're known for. Again, it came up several times in the clothing section in Tier 1, but these guys love anime. But they also love a couple specific types of anime. They tend to really like the isekai, the character, the self-insert male power fantasies where the harems where all of these girls are going after one nondescript man that they can imagine themselves as. Or they also just like anything with big bouncing anime baboobas, which again, guilty as charged, but there are limits to good taste. I want to take this brief moment to say, if you are seeing sides of yourself in this, don't worry. Having one or two of these traits in some minor fashion does not make you a beard. We all are a little beardy, just like we're all a little weird. But, it's when it becomes your whole thing, when you go too far with it, that you become one of these. And moving away from anime, we have image boards, like, the 4chan neckbeard. Whether it's an image board or a message board, neckbeards love spending their time on these things, and usually posting just absolutely degenerate content. Next, we have the video game Undertale. Now, there is no direct connection between neckbeards and Undertale other than when this game came out, the fan base exploded and a lot of neckbeards in that fan base became very vocal. They were about overzealous or moralizing about how others should play the game. They were extremely emotional and defensive about any kind of criticism of the game or its creator, Toby Fox, and they just became deeply invested. It was almost like a little subsection of the MLP, even though those aren't connected either, but it's just a lot of neckbeards became very vocal about the game Undertale, and while I hear Undertale is very good, it is forever associated on some level with its neckbeardy fans. Moving right along, we have VTubers. Now, a VTuber, if you don't know, is they're YouTubers like me, but instead of just having this static image of me, Mr. Sean, as a monkey, they actually have this whole mocap capturing their face, turning it into usually an anime girl, a cute little anime girl type thing. So they're kind of doing a live stream, but their face is covered up with anime. And neckbeards love sending money to these girls with these anime personas. They become absolutely invested and to a degree in love with these essentially fictional personas. And it's a little creepy, but hey, they're paying a lot of people's bills. So you know what? Next up, we have music, kind of a generic term. Again, I'm not entirely sure what this one means, except that neckbeards, with any other thing they enjoy, they are very vocal about what they like and very critical of people who believe differently, whether that's metal music or they don't think Taylor Swift is good. They will argue just viscerally if they view your preferences as different than their preferences in music and many other things. Next up on the list, Doctor Who. Yep, that is a nerdy British show about a time-traveling alien, and something that nerdy is going to have a huge neckbeard fan base. Moving right along, Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, strategy game. It's actually kind of hard to play. I don't understand the rules at all, and neckbeards love it. And again, because of some of the hygiene things we talked about in Tier 2, Konami, who makes Yu-Gi-Oh!, has actually had to implement an official rule that you can be disqualified from a tournament for not practicing proper hygiene, because that is how much this game has been taken over by smelly neckbeards. Along that same line, Magic the Gathering. Do you have a friend who is really, really into Magic the Gathering? Are they kind of a jerky asshole neckbeard? Yeah, they are. Well, there you go. Magic the Gathering tournaments are like a siren song to a neckbeard. Again, I told you I had that saying. I could walk in and smell the Magic the Gathering tournament, and you know exactly who I'm talking about when I'm talking about what my nostrils picked up. Going into that, we have comic books. Yeah, we've talked about how neckbeards love anime, but not every neckbeard is into Japanese media. Some of them like American. Some of them are, just as much as people get invested in their storylines and their waifus in anime and manga, neckbeards can be just as adamant about their comic book characters. From American, from DC, from Marvel, from indie comics. And of course, their choices are always going to be superior to yours. And if you try to give your own opinion that is different, they will let you know how stupid you are. Same thing, guys, with our next one, video games. They love video games. Anything they can do at their computer or in front of a TV, they love. And video games, again, they're going to have a lot of opinions on it. And these days, the ones we seem to see a lot of are stating that the female video game characters just aren't hot enough, because to a neckbeard, if you can't goon to them, they shouldn't be in your video game. And for the final entry of Tier 3, we have the entry on this list that brings me the most sadness. Dungeons and Dragons, because I love Dungeons and Dragons, guys. But again, I know that unfortunately, if I were to attempt to go out and play Dungeons and dragons with a group beyond my own close friend circle, I run a very strong risk of running into unpleasant neckbeards who are going to spend the entire game trying to make everything about them and trying to seduce every female NPC there is, even though it's just the DM who is probably a guy. Okay, not probably, but 50-50 they're a guy. You know, women can be DMs too, but it's just the DM doing a funny voice. You're not actually getting laid if you successfully seduce the tavern wench. But again, these neckbeards love these self-insert power fantasies where they can feel like they're big and strong and everybody likes them and everybody wants to sleep with them. And unfortunately, that can be done in Dungeons and Dragons. Or maybe not unfortunately, but there's so much more you can do in Dungeons and Dragons, but that's the part they tend to gravitate towards. All right, that's the end of tier 3, guys. So I'm gonna bring out my next item. This is over again on Fourth Wall. This is our Keeping It Classy t-shirt. I made a video a few weeks ago where I talked about lost media, specifically lost pieces of art. And the final piece of that video I did have to censor, and I chose to do so with my little face logo. So I figured, you know what? Why not keep it classy everywhere? We have here an image of the Michelangelo's David, and his famous wang is being covered up by my beautiful avatar's face, while below it reads, "Keeping it classy, Mr. Sean Productions." So you can keep it classy and show your support of the channel all in one. Link is in the description. All right, guys, we are moving into tier 4, starting off with depression. Now, depression is a very serious mental condition. I am not here to make light of it, but neckbeards, who often do feel some form of depression, as they do feel ostracized from society, and that depresses them. They often weaponize their depression, trying to use it to get their way because they're just so depressed. And that, to me, is the biggest problem, is they're not trying to get better. They're trying to use their issues to manipulate others. And that ties in directly to the antisocial personality disorders that many of them display. Because let's be honest, this kind of behavior isn't normal. People wouldn't in a right and sound mind choose to be this way. There usually is an underlying form of mental illness, whether caused from past trauma or just simple brain chemistry. Who knows? But again, rather than want to work on themselves, they want to weaponize these as, please, I'm sorry, I just have this disorder and that's why I did the thing that I did. Please forgive me. Please sleep with me. And that's just not okay. And again, the depression and the disorders, they lead many a neckbeard into the travesty of main character syndrome, where they feel that they are the most important person and they're just not able to grasp why everyone else can't see it. This is why a lot of them love those male power fantasy self-insert isekai anime, because again, they're able to just kind of put themselves onto that character where that person is a main character and everybody is just super into them and wants to touch their pee-pee. And all of these things, the depression, the disorders, the main character syndrome, often leads to a supreme sense of entitlement, where they just think they are owed things. They are owed respect. They are owed sex. They are owed friendship. They are owed titty pics. Who knows? They feel like whatever they want, they are entitled to it, and they can't understand why the world won't just give it to them. And again, part of this is because they truly believe themselves to be high quality, high intellect individuals. Hence the next one being, I am very smart, because they genuinely believe that. Unlike, say, some of the incels we've seen where they're very self-deprecating, neckbeards genuinely have a very high sense of self, a very strong ego, and they think they are superior. That's why it's so hard for them to realize that what they're doing is wrong, is because they couldn't be wrong. They are a genius and they are the main character. This leads us to our next piece on the tier, inappropriate social behavior. Because they feel so justified in their beliefs and their actions, they don't bother to actually learn how to integrate properly into society. Hence why this, iceberg even exists. And their lack of societal manners leads to them spouting very racist and sexist rhetoric, because one, they truly believe it to be true, and they don't see the problem in telling people this. But they also don't always do it in public. It's also done on a lot of those internet forums, image and message boards that they love so much. And all this is to say that they truly believe that the reason they're not a millionaire with a hot a wife with massive boobs is because nobody understands them. They just don't see their value, that all they offer is a high value, high intellect alpha male with their natural musk that should just be flocking the money and the naked ladies to them because they genuinely just think everyone else is stupid. And that's the end of tier 4. So the next item that I have from my sales collection, again, this one's available over on eBay, and this is a custom Mimic from X-Men in his Dark X-Men outfit, and it's a custom kit-bashed HeroClix miniature. Mimic, of course, being an early character in the X-Men lore, a mutant with the ability to mimic the powers of other mutants nearby, and a sometimes a foe, sometimes an ally of the X-Men. He, was first introduced being able to copy the powers of the entire small team, and he would actually later join Norman Osborn's Dark X-Men during the Dark Reign storyline. And this HeroClix has been kit bashed in order to showcase his costume. Now he is at the time of this, he is mimicking the powers of Angel, Cyclops, Storm, and Wolverine. And this HeroClix is one of a kind and can be added to your collection today. It is available on eBay, link in the description. All right, guys, are you still with me? Because we're moving in to tier 5. We are closer to the end than to the beginning now. And we're going to start with mysticism. Now, neckbeards aren't a huge fan of organized religion in most cases, like Christianity, things like that, Judaism, but they do believe in, say, magic, mysticism. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I happen to believe in magic to an extent myself, they seem to think that they are... It's a way for them to feel powerful. It's a delusion for them. There's no actual care or thought put into their belief and practice. It's just, I am very powerful. I am a sorcerer. Though many express their euphoria with our next tier, which is a straight up atheism. They think they are too smart to believe in organized religion and often talk down to those who do believe because they are very verbal about their atheism and will mock and ridicule anybody who doesn't share their belief. Now, I am not an atheist. I'm not even an agnostic. I believe there is a higher power. I believe magic exists to some extent, but I don't believe any of us can truly understand what's going on. And the way you express your connection to a higher power is yours to do as you will. But a neckbeard would tell you you are stupid for believing in anything because atheism is the way to go. And speaking of ways to go, our next one is MGTOW, men going their own way. And now this is, on the surface, this would seem like something that is positive, but it's not. Men going their own way isn't just men living their lives for themselves. It's done to an extent where it is demonizing and making an enemy of the female, where they talk about them being high value men and how women are useless beyond just as objects for use in sexual intercourse and breeding, and that men need to reassert their power over women and put them back in their place. And it's a hate group, and a lot of neckbeards love the idea of it because it does preach the idea of making a woman subservient to you. Our next entry is the Chads and the Stacys. Now, this would be much higher on, say, an incel iceberg because neckbeards aren't necessarily incels, guys. I know the terms get used a lot in interchangeably, but they're not. A lot of neckbeards get laid, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Because unlike your traditional incel who has a very low sense of self, is very self-deprecating, neckbeards genuinely do have a lot of charisma. They can get laid. They just can't seem to make relationships last because that charisma is not enough in the long run. Trust me, I know. But again, not every neckbeard, quote unquote, does have a high ego or sense of self, and there are some neckbeards who would also be incels. And what Chads and Stacys are the good-looking, sexually active men and women who, in this case, neckbeards would believe are having all the sex that they should be having. And this is, of course, focused on not a relationship, but just the sex itself. Again, we all know, any decent person knows there's far more to a relationship than just sex, but they tend to focus on that aspect because, let's be honest, it just feels really good when your meat missile gets to drop a load of baby rockets deep inside a woman's cave of wonders, and that's all they're thinking about. And to that they would say, we live in a society. Yes, if you've spent any time on the internet, you've probably seen a neckbeard claim in some way or shape or form the phrase, we live in a society, often accompanied by either Heath Ledger or Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Now, this one has two prongs. One is how it's used by neckbeards themselves to, it's kind of a pseudo-intellectual, we live in a society where, people don't care about what really matters, they care about this other thing instead. But it also has become a way to mock neckbeards in a way that it's like anyone who's taking themselves too seriously about being edgy or different or smarter than society gets this we live in a society joke added onto them. I will say this is just a personal offshoot. I hate what the internet has done to the Joker. Now, as a kid watching Batman the Animated Series, watching the Adam West Batman, I loved the Joker, but not because I wanted to be like him, but because I thought he was such a cool villain. He stood for everything Batman did. Batman was all about order, about keeping society together, while the Joker was just this pure force of chaos that ultimately challenged everything Batman believed in. It wasn't that the Joker himself was cool. It was that in the context of him being the foil of Batman made him a compelling villain. And now the fact that people idolize him, his behavior, all that, it's just ruined it for me, unfortunately. And I miss being able to like the Joker without the fear of this we live in a society getting tacked on to me, just because I think he is a neat comic book villain within the narrative that he exists in. Not everything has to be deep, guys. Some things are allowed to just be fun. But what is not fun is the belief, again, this will be a much higher tier on an incel iceberg, but it's a little lower here on the neckbeard one. Government provided girlfriends. And again, these are for the ones that border the lines between neckbeard and incel, who think that society would be better. Again, this is the society that we live in, would be better if the government just provided girlfriends to lonely men, that somehow the only reason men aren't being productive is because they're single and can't get a date. And the only motivation to be successful is to have a warm flesh pocket to stick your man member in each night. Up next, guys, we have a term called race realism. And now it's always presented when they talk about this as if it is a neutral scientific concept, but it is not. It is it's something normally used by white nationalists or pseudoscientific circles about a belief that racial differences in behavior, intelligence, or social outcomes are primarily caused by genetics. It is a rebranding of scientific racism. It's no different than phrenology, and neckbeards love to talk about it online, and it's awful. And again, guys, tier 5 seems to be mostly about their societal beliefs. And so our final one in this tier is the alpha, beta, and sigma male belief. Now, again, guys, if you spent any time on the internet, if you spent any time on my channel, you've heard about this pseudoscientific alpha, beta, sigma hierarchy. It's basically an internet-born social framework that has become popular amongst certain male-centric online communities. It originally came about in the 70s due to a misunderstanding of wolf social hierarchies. Early writers misinterpreted wolf packs as being ruled by a dominant alpha male, even though later research showed that this is inaccurate and that packs are mostly family-based. But by then, pickup artists and men's self-help gurus had adopted the metaphor for humans. And there's 3 tiers here. There's the alpha male, confident, dominant, attractive to women, leader of the pack. And, to a neckbeard, these people are admired or envied. The neckbeard memes often mock obsession with alphas as juvenile or delusional chads. That's if they don't see themselves as alphas. Then again, many of them do. There's difference in all communities, but either they're like, alpha males aren't real. Either they'll talk about how shitty it is, or they'll talk about how they are the alpha. which moves into the beta, passive, kind, lacks confidence, and gets friend-zoned, the stereotypical nice guy or self-pitying nerd, and many neckbeard jokes revolve around self-identified betas who think women reject them because they're too nice. Now, you've probably heard both those terms before. The one you may or may not have heard of is the Sigma male. It's kind of a newer one, the lone wolf, who is as competent as an alpha but doesn't play by society's rules, and this kind of became a meme because of how seriously some people took it. Neckbeard culture parodies it as a edgy loner who watches Joker and thinks he's above the system. You know, that Sigma male grind set, make your own way. Again, it ties heavily into MGTOW. Most people who prescribe to the MGTOW philosophy would consider themselves Sigma males. Now that is the end of tier 5, guys. So once again, let's take a look at another item for sale. And this one is a hoodie that states, "You couldn't get laid on a long weekend," which is a phrase I used in one of my Neckbeard videos earlier where, you know, it sounds a little ridiculous, guys, but in my head it was like, yeah, even with, you know, think about a long weekend. You know, you have an extra day before you have to go back to work, so you had that all important third or even maybe fourth day, depending. So instead of, oh god, the weekend's already over, you know, when the weekend should end, you're gonna have a whole nother day to relax. So people are usually feeling pretty good on a long weekend. But this guy is so irritating, even with all the extra good vibes of a long weekend. You ain't getting any. This is available in 4 different colors over on my 4th wall. Link is in the description. All right, guys, moving into tier 6, I'm just going to put the warning out there. We are going to start talking about some incredibly degenerate behaviors, so you have been warned. Starting off, though, we have 4chan. 4chan, an internet message board and forum that is just kind of, if you think Reddit has some crazy stuff on it, 4chan is just the Wild West, and neckbeards absolutely love it. It is considered one of the bastions of free speech, where they can talk about all the horrible things they believe and want to do to others, and that they will not be punished for it because everything is anonymous. Moving from there into r/braincell. Now again, this one would be probably at least a couple tiers higher on an incel iceberg, but r/braincell was the backup incel community subreddit on Reddit after r/incels was banned in 2017. Now, it was advertised as a more intellectual side of the incel community, but in practice, it was really just a bunch of, you know, incel ideology and hate speech, and r/braincell was itself shut down in 2019. Again, the correlation between neckbeard and incel is not one-to-one, but there is a decent amount of overlap. All right, now we move to cum tributes. Well, what is that? Well, that is where an individual, possibly a neckbeard, possibly any number of just weirdos, will take an image of it could be a woman, it could be a fictional character, who knows, just an image of something they are attracted to, and will either videotape or take an after photo of them ejaculating onto the photo as a tribute that they would like to be able to do this to that individual in real life. Never understood this one, but apparently it's a thing. But it is better than its next thing on the tier, unsolicited D-pics. And that is where someone who, you know, maybe they like a girl, maybe they just want to freak them out, but they will take a photo of their dongle and just text it to another individual without any kind of indication that that's something they'd like to see. This kind of falls into that, like, not understanding, you know, decent societal manners, and somehow thinking that just a photo of your random D is going to entice this woman to want to come and meet it in person. Next on the list, we have stalking. And this is just, you know, this really comes in more to the over ego side of the neckbeard mentality. Much like the D-pic, this all comes from this sense of entitlement and, you know, the I am very smart, I am the alpha male, you should want to be with me, and I want to be with you, and I'm entitled to that, and I'm going to stalk you until you get it through your head that we're meant to be together. And it's super creepy and it's super wrong. And speaking of wrong, we have lollies. So what this is it is borderline rhymes with schmedophilia, where there's this idea, and I think specifically, I'm not 100% certain, but it's the idea that it's usually a fictional character where they are, designed to either they are underage or they are, even if they're a 1,000-year-old dragon, they all look and act like a child. And it is something that neckbeards are way too into, and it's gross. I remember going to my first anime convention. I haven't been to that many. I'm not a big convention guy. But I'm walking by a vendor and they have, those life-sized waifu body pillows for sale. And the ones they were advertising, yes, they had Post-it notes censoring all the naughty bits, but they were of naked children, more or less. And I'm like, those are the ones you put on display? Really? What the hell? And just the lack of shame and the idea that, yes, they're fictional, but this is still gross. It boggles the mind. Next in this tier is summoning succubi. And now, what is this? Well, for those of you who might not know, a succubi or a succubus is a female demon of medieval mythology that was said to, seduce men to drain their life force. Essentially, it's a sex demon. And now this one, there's two parts to it. Part of it is just literally ironic roleplay, and some actually belief in pseudo mystical occult practice. The idea is that you're not getting any sex, so you could summon a sex demon to have sex with you. Some believe they can, some it's just kind of a roleplay thing. But either way, summoning succubi, everybody. And our final thing on this tier is troll accounts. I'm actually kind of surprised this one is as low as it is, because one thing neckbeards love doing is mocking others, but sometimes they don't have the bravery, whether because they are cowards or they have the good sense to know that attaching their actual name to some of these things they say could get them in serious legal trouble. They will create anonymous troll accounts. And the point of this account is literally just to troll. And whether they believe what they say or not, the whole idea is to get a negative emotional reaction out of whoever the target is. And that is the point of these troll accounts. And that's the end of tier 6. Only 2 more tiers to go. So let's look at our next item. Available on eBay, this custom female Solar D&D Kit Bash Angel miniature is basically, they used, I took HeroClix bits and attached them to a D&D base. Actually, there's HeroClix. There are also D&D bits and pieces, but essentially what you have here is a solar angel, a angelic celestial Avenger, shown here to have be carrying a glaive, and their body and wings and outfit, they are clothed in the colors of the sun, and would definitely make a imposing ally or enemy in your next D&D campaign. This can be found for sale over on eBay. Link is in the description. All right, guys, we are now moving into layer 7, the 7th tier of this iceberg, and this is going to be, there's going to be some unhinged stuff in this one, though I think it's more so these are lower because of how unhinged they are, not necessarily because they are unknown. I think I may have been under the false thing that this was went well known to most obscure, but it's looking like it did go from well known, but it's also these entries are getting darker, not just more obscure as we go down the line. So that's a correction. That's on me. I'm just figuring this out now. Sorry, let's get into tier 7. And our first entry is cum jars. Now, what is this? Well, this is something I wish I didn't know what it was, but the idea that neckbeards kind of like the cum tribute from above, but instead of printing out a picture and doing that, what you do is you put a figure of a character that you like, or maybe even a photo, and you ejaculate into this jar that the figure has been placed in, and you just leave it there. And you continue, every time you have a goon sesh, you continue to fill this jar with your baby batter as you slowly, apparently, drown this figure or image or whatever in that. Gross. Actually, I've talked before about how I got rid of my subscription to the Otaku box, which I had for years, specifically because the figures they sent you as part of that subscription box, they started advertising that you should be putting them in jars so that you could do this to them. And when you stop just advertising to enthusiasts and start advertising purely to gooners, no thank you. After that unfortunate entry, we have Gamergate. Now, what is Gamergate? Well, originally Gamergate was a controversy where a female game developer was accused by an ex-boyfriend of sleeping with game reviewers to get good reviews for her games. And this snowballed into a thing where the neckbeards especially are talking about how the gaming industry has gone woke, how essentially they're just mad that anytime there's any female presence or influence in a game beyond just being something with large breasts for you to ogle while you play as a big, strong, beefcakey male, it's bad. And this is the most recently, the one I've heard about is people complaining about Ghost of Yotai. Even though your character is modeled to look like its her voice actor, Erika Ishii, who I think is stunning, to be perfectly honest, and is more than most neckbeards could probably handle in the bedroom. I've seen interviews. She seems like a very feral person, but very talented, too. Don't get me wrong. There is more than aesthetics here. Erika Ishii, fantastic actress. But because they don't immediately find this character goonable, it's a bad game. It wasn't made with gamers in mind. And it's just this, Gamergate is misogyny mixed with gaming, mixed with gooning. Oh boy, I'm going to try and get through this next one without gagging. Piss jugs. Well, neckbeards are basement dwellers. They don't want to go upstairs to the bathroom, so they pee in a... Couldn't do it. They pee in a jug. Oh, God. And why are they peeing in these jugs, you might ask? Well, it's because they are keyboard warriors. These are the neckbeards that stay in the basement. They don't interact, but they tout all of their ideas on the internet because these ideas are important and they need to get out there. And I don't have time to go to the bathroom. I have to finish this sentence and then pee in this jug so that I can type my next rant. Which is still better than the next one, which is predatory behavior. Because predatory behavior, at least to some extent, usually has to involve going out into public instead of just behind a keyboard. Though I suppose you could be a predator online as well. But yes, this is everything from preying on others' insecurities to get what you want to even coercing underage people to send you naked pictures of themselves. Neckbeards are known for being highly predatory. And one of their favorite ways to be a predator is through emotional manipulation. Again, they're your best friend. Oh, it's nobody gets you but them. Oh, you just don't understand. Oh, they have a condition. Oh, they're depressed. Any way they can emotionally manipulate someone to get what they want, no matter how low they have to sink. If it gets them titty, then it was worth it. The ends always justify the means if it gets you titty. But they better be white titties, because the next thing is that neckbeards have very anti-diversity beliefs. They believe, many of them believe in white supremacy. I guess that is because many neckbeards are white. They're not exclusively white. I've known many a neckbeard of a different color in my days. But again, even then, like whatever race they are, they tend to have the idea that that race is supreme, and they are very against diversity. They don't like other people different than them, that look different than them, being hailed as smart or beautiful or successful. It's got to be their race, or I guess the highway. That doesn't really rhyme. And we've seen these things, these terrible beliefs, these manipulations, and in the end, if they're not getting their way, they might resort to this last piece: violent threats. Yeah, that's right. They're not above threatening violence to get their way, because again, once you get to this tier, once you go away from mildly beardy to full on basement dwelling incel neckbeard, they are not above threatening violence, and that is despicable. And that's the end of tier 7, guys. Let's go take a look at another item for sale before we get into the 8th final tier. Right here we have the Mr. Sean logo tie-dye. Now this fun tie-dye shirt features an embroidered face of me, Mr. Sean, in that corner there on kind of the breast corner, so you can be fun, fashionable, retro, and show your love of my channel with this. I think it's pretty cool. And that can be found on my 4th wall. Link is in the description. Now, guys, as we get into tier 8, I am going to warn you, these are the worst of the worst. Each entry here is a person. And beyond just spouting horrible beliefs, these are people who did horrible, unspeakable, unforgivable things. We are not going to, this is in no way, shape, or form to glorify their actions. And this is purely for informational purposes. I am going to be as minimal as I can in explaining these, as I do not want to give them any more attention than they've already gotten beyond simply informing you of these things. Out of respect for their victims, I'm going to keep each entry brief. First up, we have George Sedini. Now, George Sedini was the perpetrator of the 2009 Collier Township shooting, where George, inspired by his incel beliefs, went into an LA fitness center, fired 52 shots, killing 3 women and injuring 9 other people before taking his own life. A sad end to a sad man. Next up, we have Elliot Rodger, the perpetrator of the 2014 Isla Vista killings, which were 2 misogynistic terrorist attacks that occurred in Isla Vista, California on May 23, 2014, where 22-year-old Elliot Rodger, a lifelong incel, killed 6 people and injured 14 by gunshot, stabbing, and vehicle ramming near the campus of the University of California, Santa Barbara, before fatally taking his own life with his gun. Elliot is known in the incels community for his actions, as well as his multitude of YouTube vlogs where he complains about his life and his inability to connect with people. But if you ever read his terribly self-serving manifesto, you will see that he was a person who thought he was better than everyone else and didn't understand why everyone else didn't believe it as well. Though the incels may view him as their chosen one, in reaction, nobody ever chose him ever, not even himself. Next on the tier is Chris Harper Mercer, the perpetrator of the 2015 Umpqua Community College shooting, wherein he took the lives of 9 people and injured an additional 8 before once again taking his own life. In writings he left, he stated that this was due to his frustrations with his own inceldom and his inability to live within society, again, thinking that he was better than everyone else, and everyone else just didn't get him. Next we have William Atchison, the perpetrator of the 2017 Aztec High School shooting, wherein he took the lives of 2 students before taking his own after a brief standoff with the police. While no specific reason was ever given, Atchison did frequent many of the online forum spaces common to neckbeards, hence his appearance on this list. The next entry on our list is a typo. It says Alex, but in fact the perpetrator, Alec Manassian, the perpetrator of the 2018 Toronto van attack, which was a misogynistic terrorist vehicle ramming attack in Toronto, Canada. A former online pen pal, so to speak, of Elliot Rodger, Manassian was inspired by Rodger's own terrible deeds to commit his own, using a rented van to take the lives of 11 individuals while injuring 15 more. Unlike everyone else on the list so far, while Manassian did attempt to potentially take his own life via cop, he was in fact arrested and put on trial and remains in jail to this day. Next in this tier is Scott Burrell, the perpetrator of the 2018 Tallahassee shooting, wherein Burrell entered a Tallahassee hot yoga studio where he took the lives of 2 individuals and injured 5 more before taking his own life. His motives claimed to be those of revenge for sexual and social rejection. Again, truly a terrible thing to do simply because you're not getting laid. Next we have Brian Isaac Clyde, the perpetrator of the 2019 Dallas courthouse shooting. Fortunately, this incident has a silver lining. The only death in this attack was that of the perpetrator, Clyde himself, while 1 person was injured. As to his motivations, Clyde appeared to have been radicalized online, self-radicalized, posting memes related to incel subculture that appeals to men who feel lonely and alienated, and ultimately getting sucked into a hateful vortex that tells them that their lives are only valuable if they go out and bring death to others. Fortunately, in this regard, he was unsuccessful. And finally, the last entry on this terrible tier, Armando Hernandez Jr., the perpetrator of the 2020 Westgate shooting, wherein the 20-year-old who was a self-proclaimed incel and believed that women didn't want him, reportedly targeted couples, managing to injure 3 people before being arrested by the police. Fortunately, he was unable to take the lives of anyone and was convicted of all charges. Thus ends this tier that was decidedly not fun to narrate on this, the final tier of the Neckbeard Iceberg. I am going to forego advertising another one of my products after that tier, as that was simply unpleasant to get through. But that is the Neckbeard Iceberg, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there has been a lot of people in the past have told me they want me to do an iceberg video, and I never have. And so I decided, hey, why not? We're going for broke here, right? Let's do another one. Again, guys, you still have time to enter the giveaway for the custom Sunfire HeroClick miniature. You just have to watch last Friday's video and enter the phrase, and you'll be entered to win. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. We're still trying to get that 1,500 subscribers by the end of the year. Otherwise, this channel is in more or less going away. So please prevent that from happening by lending your support. And if you would like to support the channel monetarily, you can become a channel member, you can become a Patreon patron, or you can check the links in the description, and you can maybe buy an item on eBay, Mercari, or over on Fourth Wall. Until next time, everybody, I'm Mr. Sean. This is mrseanproductions, Productions, and I sincerely hope that you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.